Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed so far. It really does mean the world to me. And thank you so much for your kind comments on the last video that I uploaded, which was my weight loss journey. I got a lot of comments asking for a what I eat in a day video, along with a lot of questions. So I thought today's video I could do kind of like a combination what I eat in a day plus Q&A. So I have already had my coffee. Usually I start off with just my coffee in the morning and then I get my kids to school. And somewhere around like 8 o'clock-ish is when I will actually make my breakfast. It just depends on how hungry I am, if I eat with my coffee or not. Most mornings I don't. So I am going to take you with me to make my breakfast. I'll show you what I eat and how I make it. And then I will sit down and answer some questions. And then I will show you what I would make for lunch and the recipe for that, as well as what I make for dinner and that recipe as well. And I'll just kind of throw in some Q&As in between everything. I'm going to try my best to answer all of the questions, but if I missed your question, I didn't do it on purpose. I will probably end up doing more Q&A videos in the future. And of course, I can always answer your questions just in the comments. So yeah, let's go eat and chat for a bit. Okay, here are the ingredients for my breakfast. So I have just plain Greek yogurt, strawberries, blueberries, pecans, and I do put honey now. Back when I was doing strict keto, I would have just left the honey out. But now I do put a little drizzle of honey. If you're going to use honey, I would suggest a local honey if possible, like unpasteurized, unheated, just raw honey. It took me a while to get to where I liked eating this yogurt. I'm not going to lie, if you're used to eating like Yoplait or something, this is not going to be good. So a good alternative for you if you don't like just the plain Greek yogurt, there's a brand called Too Good. It is only 2 grams of fat, 4 grams of carbs, but 12 grams of protein. This is a good one. Or there's another brand called Ratio, which is really good if you're on the keto diet because it's like, I think only 2 grams of carbs, 15 fat, and 15 protein. Too Good and Ratio are good if you want something like flavored and sweetened. But if not, the Greek yogurt is the best. So yeah, I don't really measure how much yogurt. I just kind of put it in there until I feel like it's enough. And then I'll add my toppings. Okay, so I've just finished my breakfast. I thought I would take this time to answer some of your questions that I received on my previous video. So my diet, if I had to put a name to it, would be what I would describe as a low carb Mediterranean diet. I focus on carb control, and I definitely focus on eating whole, clean foods, as clean as I can. Of course, it's not perfect all the time. I'm not gonna pretend like I eat clean 100% of the time. I would say probably like 90% of the time I eat like I do in this video, where it's just very clean and I have a lot of control over everything. But if I'm on vacation or I'm at a party or a social event, like I'll live my life. I'm not going to pretend like we don't live in the world that we live in today, where we have a lot of access to highly processed foods. And whenever there's parties or gatherings or you go out to restaurants, most of the time it's not super clean, healthy food. It is more like junk food. But that's okay, enjoy and indulge and then get back on track. I also got a lot of questions about macros. So I don't count my macros anymore. I don't count my calories anymore, but I did for a long time, especially when I was competing. So back when I was doing a pretty strict keto diet, my macros looked like 5% carbs, 70% fat, and 25% protein. And when I started prepping for my bikini competition, I actually did the entire prep keto. But I upped the protein a little bit and dropped the fats a little bit. So it was 5% carbs and it was like 60 to 65% fat, and then 30 to 35% protein. I also got asked if I will ever compete again. My answer is I don't know, maybe. I have no desire to right now. I think, though, anybody who's on a weight loss journey and a fitness journey, I think everybody should do it at least once just for fun. But also, you learn so much about yourself and your body and what you're capable of, and how your body responds to certain foods, and how your body responds to refeed days and deficits and cardio and weightlifting. Like, you really learn a lot about yourself, and you have a whole new appreciation for food. Prep is not easy. I didn't have a coach, I just prepped myself. But especially when you get close to the competition, like peak week, for example, it's called peak week, the week before you compete and you step on stage. That is a crazy week. You are so hungry, but you look so good, but you're so hungry. And you have all these like cravings, but you're so close to the show, so you don't want to do anything to mess it up. And then the show itself is a lot of fun. And then, of course, afterwards, most competitors will go have like a ridiculous cheat meal. My husband and I competed in the same show, and afterwards we went out with friends for a burger and fries, and it was awesome. But yeah, I don't know if I will compete again. I have pictures of my bikini progress, so I'll put them on the stage, or on the screen from when I like first ever tried on my friend's bikini because she competed. And then from there, I just prepped myself, and each week I got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I was on stage. And my favorite part, honestly, was just getting glammed up. Like, I liked doing my hair, I liked doing my makeup, and the super sparkly rhinestone bikini. It's like custom made for you, and the real high heels and just the jewelry, like that was fun. Getting glammed up was fun, and just doing it to celebrate my fitness journey was a lot of fun. So I don't know if I'll do it again. If I do, I will definitely record the progress, the entire prep. But as of right now, I don't have plans to. So this is the bikini that I wore. It has all red Swarovski crystals. And then the crystals on the sides for the connectors are just like clear. But yeah, I wanted red on red because the stage lighting makes it look super bright and it stands out really, really nicely. So it looks amazing on stage. I still have my number attached. I was number 35, and you can see I still have tan on it. So when you get on stage, you do this tan. I did my own tan, and it came out really nice. And then my husband has done several shows, and I've actually tanned him. I'll put a little thing up on the screen of when I was doing the tan for him. You're like super, super dark because the lights are so bright, it would wash you out if you weren't tan. So everybody gets a huge spray tan. So yeah, I wish it was like socially acceptable to just wear this at like any pool or beach. I feel like people would look at you weird because you'd be very excessive. Um, but can we just all collectively agree that it's okay? Somebody also asked if I could talk about the prep itself and what I did. So, kind of a quick version. If I went more in depth, it'd have to be a whole separate video. But basically, I prepped for 16 weeks. So, 16 weeks, I worked out 5 times a week. And then I kept my macros in that keto range. And I started off eating 2,000 calories a day. And then each week I would cut back until I felt like, oh, I feel just absolutely exhausted and depleted. Then I'd give myself a couple of refeed days where I would bump up my calories a little bit, and then I would go back down. So the exercise was staying the same, the weightlifting was staying the same, but the calories were decreasing each week. And then those last 4 weeks, that's when I really started increasing the cardio more, decreasing the food more. Honestly, I know I would have done better if I had a coach because they are really good at that refeed type of thing. I think I came in very, very, very lean and probably could have been a bit fuller in my muscles. But like I said, it was really for fun. So I'm just happy I had the confidence to get up there on that stage. But essentially, that's how it works. The lowest I ever got on my calories was 1,300 a day. I know some of the girls I competed with said they went as low as 900 a day. I mean, they had coaches and stuff, but they looked like they were going to faint. So I never went that low on my calories. I also never cut water, and I never did any kind of salt manipulation either. I know some people are still cutting their water before a stage and they're doing all kinds of sodium manipulation. I didn't do that. I think that's starting to really go out of practice now too, because people are having heart attacks backstage or they're fainting on stage because it's just not good for your body. But yeah, that was my prep. Okay, I am going to go get on with the rest of my day, and then I will come back when it's lunchtime so I can show you what a typical lunch looks like for me. I'll show you how I make it, and then I will answer some more questions. It is lunchtime, so I'm going to make a chicken breast seasoned with salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil drizzled on the top, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. And then I'm also going to slice up some cucumber and top it with some seasoned goat cheese. This one is garlic and herb. I usually will cook in avocado oil, but I will drizzle olive oil on top just because the avocado oil can handle more heat. I also try to get the best quality ingredients I can. Um, I live in Las Vegas now where it's a lot easier to get healthy food. It's a lot easier to find better quality food. I used to live in a small town where it was impossible. Like everything was processed and really low quality. So the best chicken you can get, organic veggies and fruits if you can, the best quality olive oil. This one's actually not expensive at all. This one you get at Target, and that's very good. But I just try to be as clean as I can. I know it's not accessible for everybody, and I used to not even be able to afford organic food either. So just do the best you can. That looks so good. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. And then we'll just all the olive oil. So yeah, so that is lunch. I have a well-seasoned chicken breast with olive oil and then cucumber and goat cheese. So I am going to go eat my lunch and then I will answer more questions. Okay, I have had my lunch and I am going to answer the rest of the questions from my bed because my kids are home and they are allowed. I was also asked about my scar. A couple people have asked about the scar actually. So in the beginning, when I got the loose skin removed, the scar was pretty red. And it just lightened up over time, and now it's just the same color as my skin. It's very low. I'll actually just show you in a second, but it's a very low scar, so it's hidden by a bathing suit. Like no one's going to be able to see it. And now it just kind of like blends in with all my other stretch marks. I have quite a few, so it's like unless you were looking for it, you can't really tell. So the scar is right here. You can see like this is like where your bikini line starts. It's pretty low and it's right here. It goes all the way to my hip and it stops right here. And it goes all the way across like to the other side and it stops right here. So it's like this big long scar, but it's not dark. I mean, it just blends in with like all the stretch marks that I have. So I don't know. I don't think it's too bad. Nobody sees it anyway. Like I said, like if you're wearing like a swimsuit, totally covered. I had a few people also ask about my exercise routine. So I really don't have a set routine that I stick to. I am very active. I'm active every day. It's just I do whatever I feel like I want to do. So whether that's hiking or swimming in the summer or just taking my dogs for a walk, or sometimes it's weight training. I mean, it could be yoga. It can just be anything, any way that feels good to me that day is what I do. Now, when I was competing in the bikini competition, it was definitely very regimented because I had specific goals. So if your goal is just to be healthy and lose weight, you can pretty much get away with doing whatever exercise you enjoy. But for example, if you have a specific goal to build your glutes or to build your quads, like really put on muscle on your lower body, well, then it would be a lot easier if you prioritized going to the gym and weightlifting and focusing on those muscles instead of just like playing tennis because it sounded fun that day, which is what I do now. I also wanted to comment on the fact that so many of you have shared with me about family not understanding what you're doing, or your friends were really supportive in the beginning and then now all of a sudden they're like, don't lose too much weight, or you're losing too much weight, even though you know you still have weight to lose. And I just wanted to put a friendly reminder out there to just, you do you. You know, it's okay if other people don't get it. It's okay if they were on board and now all of a sudden they're criticizing you. Like, that happens, unfortunately. So, two things. One, whenever your family and friends don't get what you're doing nutritionally, unless they're in the most amazing shape of their life and you want everything to just look like them, you just want to have their body, then unless that's the case, don't take their advice. You know, if they are overweight or unhealthy or average and that's not what you're going for, then you just do what you want to do. I had a lot of people tell me they're doing the carnivore diet, and I've heard people have great success with that. Some of you shared with me you're doing keto. Some of you said you're also doing the Mediterranean diet. Some of you said you were just trying to clean it up in general or exercise more. But a lot of times family will fight you on that because you're doing something different than them, or they think they know how nutrition works, or they think they know how the body works, and they don't really. So if it gets to the point where you're talking about what you're doing in this amazing journey you're on to just better yourself, and certain people are being negative about it, just don't have that conversation with those people anymore. You know, if they're like, oh, what are you, doing for your weight loss? How's that journey going? Just keep it minimal, say it's good, and move on, because they're not going to get it. I can't tell you how many people told me I was going to end up killing myself by doing the keto diet because it was so bad for you. And they think this because, one, they've never done any research on it. They really haven't done any research. But two, it goes against everything that we were ever taught growing up. At least here in the States, we were taught fats are bad and you should have, the majority of your diet should be carbs and then protein and then fats. And then I turned it upside down on its head and did mostly fats, a lot of protein, and some carbs. And people were like, you are going to die. Well, obviously, that's not what happened. And now there's more and more research coming out showing that it is not a dangerous way to eat. So yes, that's what I have to say on people who just don't get what you're doing. It doesn't matter. They don't need to get it. You do what you feel is best for you. And then when it comes to people being unsupportive, maybe they were supportive in the beginning and then now they're not, or they've told you you've lost enough weight, but you think you still have another 20, 30, 40 pounds to go like I did. Don't listen to them. I really honestly believe that what happens, okay, so I'll just use me as an example. I was always the fat friend. I was always the fat one in the group. I was the heaviest of everybody I hung out with. I was the fat one. And then when I started losing weight, they were like, wow, good for you. That's awesome. Congratulations. You're going to be so healthy. That's great. And then I started losing weight really, really fast. So I was like catching up to them to where then I was their size. And they're like, oh, wow, okay, that's good. Just stop there. You don't lose any more. That's going to be too much. Don't take this too far. And then I kept losing weight to where I was then leaner and thinner and more fit than they were. And that's when they're like, oh, Zoe, this is too much. I don't think you know what you're doing. And then I kept going, and it got to the point where a lot of those people like didn't even talk to me anymore. So I think that has to do with their own insecurities. I think if they are used to you being a certain way, and then all of a sudden you start to outgrow them in your personal development journey or your fitness journey, it threatens them because now you have surpassed them in that area of life. And it's hard for some people to accept, is my blunt, honest opinion. That's what I think. I think what happened is I started getting into shape, and then I was more in shape than them, and then they didn't like it because I was always the fat friend in the group, and now I was the hot friend in the group. Not that I wasn't hot before, I'm just saying I was hot and chubby, and now I was hot and fit. A few of you have also asked me about weight loss after pregnancy. So, just to be fully transparent with you guys, I do have 3 kids, but I only gave birth to one. So, I was pregnant, gained about 60 pounds. When I had my daughter, I lost the weight of the baby, and that was it. I didn't lose any more weight afterwards. And then I just continued to gain weight. And then before you knew it, I was 224 pounds. So I never actually went on my weight loss journey until my daughter was about 4 years old. So that's when I started this journey and like really started losing weight. Of course, I tried and failed many times before, but nothing started really sticking until she was about 4 years old. And I started doing all my own research on keto and the Mediterranean diet and the body, and just started really digging into how nutrition actually works versus what we were just taught in school. And one of you in the comments said that your husband was going away for business, I think you said, for a few months. And so you wanted to try and like lose weight before he came back. That is so sweet. And I can relate because I actually met my husband at the very beginning of my weight loss journey. So I was 224 pounds when we started dating. And then he went away for 6 months because he was in the military. And that's when I lost that first 60 pounds. So when he came back, he was able to actually like pick me up and spin me around. And it was this whole romantic moment. So I just wanted to give you a little special shout out. I think that's so sweet that you are trying to do that. And it's, oh my gosh, it's going to be so fun whenever he comes back and you're like, have this whole new wave of confidence. That's awesome. Okay, here are the ingredients for dinner. I am making shakshuka. There's a million different ways to make it because you basically just take all of the vegetables you have and chop them up and fry them up with eggs. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it, but we have some feta cheese to put on the top, salt and pepper for seasoning, olive oil for a drizzle on top. We have fire roasted tomatoes, zucchini, onion, mushroom, fresh garlic, spinach, and bell pepper, and eggs. Okay, so I put the chopped bell pepper in first. I'm going to make this recipe for 2, by the way, so this will feed 2 people. So next I added a chopped zucchini. Okay, now next we add the garlic. I'm trying to do this with one hand, and it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. There we go. Okay, once the vegetables are all nice and tender, that's when I add the can of fire roasted tomatoes. After that's all mixed in, I'll add the spinach and get that all wilted. So now the pan should be looking like this. I'm cooking this on medium heat, by the way, in case I forgot to say that. So just a really big pan, medium heat. Now that the spinach has wilted almost all the way, I'll add my salt and pepper. And that's actually the only seasoning I use for this dish since it already has onions and garlic in it. I may add a little bit of Italian seasoning blend actually, but other than that, that's it. It's a really flavorful dish by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and add the seasonings, and then I will show you how I add the eggs. Okay, it's kind of hard to do this with one hand, but I'll try my best. So I lowered the heat to low heat, and now I'm just going to make like a little divot for the egg. I'm going to do 6 eggs, so each egg is going to be a little divot, and that is where I will just crack the egg. So just like that, the egg goes in that little divot, and then I will do that 5 more times. Okay, so now it should look like this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a cover over the pan and let it simmer on low heat until the whites of the eggs look cooked. Okay, so when it's done, it should look like this. So yeah, when you serve it, You just kind of like that. Okay, so now that it's plated, so this is mine. I usually just have 2 eggs and then the veggies, and then my husband eats a lot more than me. He is competing again, by the way. He eats 4 eggs. So now I just top it with some feta. I really prefer sheep feta when I can find it, but I can't always find it. So I just use what I can. And then I just pour some olive oil on the top. And that is dinner. I feel like it doesn't look as appetizing as it really is, but it is so, so good. All right, dinner time is done. So I have had my Greek yogurt with berries and pecans and honey for breakfast. And then for lunch, I had chicken breast with cucumbers and goat cheese. And then for dinner, I had shakshuka, which is a whole bunch of vegetables, eggs, and then it's topped with olive oil and feta cheese. 2 things I consumed that I did not record. I had a cappuccino. I spent all day at the DMV because we just moved to a new state, so we're getting our new driver's licenses, and it took forever. So afterwards, we stopped at a cafe. I got a cappuccino. I don't get any sweetener in it, just a plain cappuccino. So the only sugar that's in it is the sugar from the milk. And then I had a handful of roasted peanuts when I got home as a snack. On the nights when I'm feeling like dessert, I will either make my own whipped cream with heavy cream and stevia, and then I will add berries to that and eat that as a dessert, or I'll have some dark chocolate, or sometimes I'll actually whip the heavy cream with like some peanut butter or some cacao powder and make like a mousse. So if I have a sweet tooth, that's usually what I will do for dessert. So tonight I don't really have a sweet tooth, but I am going to have some wine, probably like 3 or 4 nights a week. I will have a glass of wine or a glass of champagne and just like relax and unwind. I did want to give you a couple of other examples of things that I eat. This is just what I ate today, but my meals just vary. So for breakfast, right now I'm eating the yogurt. Typically, I'll eat the same thing for breakfast for like a week or two, and then I'll get tired of it and I'll switch it up. So sometimes it's yogurt, sometimes it'll be eggs and berries, sometimes it'll be some type of an omelet or some type of a veggie and egg scramble. It just really depends on what I'm in the mood for. And then for lunch, it could be like today, grilled chicken and some veggies on the side. It could be some kind of a steak and veggies. Sometimes it's leftovers of whatever I had for dinner before. And then for dinners, it could be steak, it can be eggs, it can be chicken, it can be fish, just some kind of clean source of protein, usually accompanied by either a veggie stir fry or just something nutritious and relatively low carb. Also, for those of you who work in an office, I used to work in an office. I don't anymore. Now I work from home. But when I would go into the office, I would do one of 2 things. I would do one of 3 things. So I would either go home for lunch because I was lucky enough where my office was really close to my house. So I would just go home and cook and eat and then go back to the office. Or if I had to bring my food in, I would just cook something that would taste okay, reheated in a microwave. Or 3, if I went out for lunch, I would just try to go to the restaurants where I had the best choices. So it was usually fast food if it was for lunch during the workday. And I would go to Jimmy John's a lot because they have the unwich. So I would get the whatever sandwich I wanted, but just wrapped in a lettuce wrap because that was the cleanest of the fast food restaurants. So you just got to do the best you can if you're not able to cook at home all the time. I also had a couple of moms ask me what my kids eat. Do they eat the same way I eat? Do they eat the same things I eat? So, yes and no. It kind of just depends on the day and what I'm making. So, for example, a typical day, like a Monday, Two of my kids like to eat breakfast at school, so they will eat whatever is served at school. And then my youngest, she likes when I cook for her in the morning, so she usually will have a couple of eggs with a side of fruit. For lunch, all three of them eat at school, so they end up eating whatever the school serves. For dinner, they 90% of the time eat what I eat. So tonight was an exception. None of them like shakshuka, so I will make them something else. But the majority of the time, I will cook a meal that all of us will eat. And sometimes I modify it slightly for myself. So, for example, if they want spaghetti, if we're not making it all from scratch, I will buy the cleanest spaghetti I can find, the cleanest pasta sauce I can find, and I will just shred up some zucchini into zoodles for myself, but we're all still having the same meal. Same thing with like a taco night. I just won't have the tortilla. I'll make a taco salad, but I'll have everything else that goes into it. And I make my own taco seasoning, so I know that's clean. So I just try to make it where we're pretty much eating the same thing, and I can modify it slightly if I need to. Now I am going to take a shower, do my evening routine, get a glass of wine. All right, I'm all showered. I have my glass of wine. It's time to unwind. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you got value out of it. I hope it gave you some good inspo for some healthy meals that you can eat. It would mean the absolute world to me if you would subscribe, and I wish you the very best in your weight loss journey. Cheers to your success, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.